Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Franklin, and we're going to be going over some stuff in Git, VS Code, and GitHub and how to create a repository. So, one of the starting points that we want to hit for this is making sure you have a GitHub profile. So, enjoy. So, now that we have our GitHub profile made, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go and install Visual Studio Code, and we're going to install Git as well. So start our install for Visual Studio Code, and I want to install Visual Studio Code first because Visual Studio Code is where we're going to be doing a majority of our work throughout these videos, or if you continue to watch any of my videos. Just make sure you're downloading the correct versions for your operating system, whatever you're running. I'm running Windows, so I'm obviously downloading a Windows version of Git and Visual Studio Code. And it looks like my Visual Studio Code is ready to install. So we'll accept the agreement. Next, make sure that's where you want it. Create a desktop icon, and we'll install. Boom. And before we even start the Git install, make sure your Visual Studio Code is installed completely. I like to watch it launch before it installs completely, but that's just me. So finish. I'm going to keep the check mark for launch, and it looks like it's going to time perfectly for me. It might not for you, so just beware. All right, so there's Visual Studio Code, and we'll minimize that, and perfect. We're going to go open our Git. We'll let it. Next. Yep, I already have Git on this machine, so I'm going to install it again. Add an icon onto my desktop. Next. Next. And this is a part you have to be careful when choosing a default editor. We want to use Visual Studio Code. It just makes the most sense, and it's the best kind of editor out there right now, or a place to build the code because of all the extensions that Visual Studio Code comes with. We'll be going over that in a later video as well if you want to check that out. And then the rest of the default settings seem to be pretty decent, so we're gonna click through those and we will install. Git is important because it's the most commonly used version control system right now. It's used through the terminal, or there's a GUI which we're gonna install right now. I don't personally use the GUI. I use the terminal. I use PowerShell to do all of my work with Git. And Git's important because you got your commits and you got your adds, and so you can stage your modifications to code or add certain things and make comments on things. And that's super important when you're thinking about the whole grand scheme of doing version control. And so it's installed correctly and fully, and you can see the latest update was November 4th. Today's November 10th, and so about 6 days ago, so this is a pretty new version. And if you're interested, you can go through the release notes. All right, so we're going to go back to GitHub. And GitHub is basically just an online host for Git storage. You have a local host as well, but this is how you're going to be able to get your stuff out there through creating repositories. And we can create a repository either here or in a terminal as well, but we're going to create this one through the GitHub website. So repository is just basically a place to keep all of your stuff. It's a project folder essentially, and so that's what we'll name ours. We're just going to name our repository project name, description, project for technically, and yeah, that's optional. So you have your public or private repository. Public, it's exactly what it sounds like. Anybody can go in and they can see your code. They can edit it. They can pull it down. Private, the only people that can see your code are the people that you've explicitly let in there to collaborate. You want to add a README file for the people you do let see your code, so that way they know what's going on. And then choose a license. We're going to go over to a MIT license. It's the most commonly used license, and it really helps out when you're doing public repositories. And then we'll click create. So we're going to create through, and boom, there it is. And we have our README. And you notice here, README is written in a language called Markdown, and we're going to go through that in one of my future videos as well. So that is everything. We have our actions tab up here, but that's everything for this video. If you're interested, comment, like, subscribe. If you have any ideas for future videos, please let me know. And thanks for watching.
Technically Tipton.